The FIFA World Cup is rife with crypto coin affiliation and betting. Which winners should you keep an eye on? A bill has been submitted for the world's first Bitcoin bond, paving the way for crypto future in government. Why is this important? All this and more in today's video. But first, remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for daily crypto news updates. I do this research so you don't have to. Let's get into it. El Salvador takes first step to issue Bitcoin volcano bonds. El Salvador's Minister of Economy, Maria Breves, submitted a digital assets issuance bill to the country's legislative assembly, paving the way for the launch of its Bitcoin-backed volcano bonds. First announced over a year ago today, the pioneering initiative seeks to attract capital and investors to El Salvador. It was revealed at the time the plans to issue $1 billion in bonds on the Liquid network, which is a federated Bitcoin sidechain, with the proceedings of the bonds being split between $500 million in direct allocation to Bitcoin and an investment in the same amount in building out energy and Bitcoin mining infrastructure in the region. The act of submitting the bill, which was hinted at earlier this year, kickstarts the first major milestone before the bonds can see the light of day. The next is getting it approved, which is expected to happen before Christmas. A source close to President Nayib Bukele told Bitcoin Magazine. The bill was submitted on November 17th and presented to the country's Congress today. This isn't the first time the Bitcoin bond was introduced. When Bukele, El Salvador's president, introduced the plans to launch Bitcoin City in the country last year, it was initially to be funded by $1 billion in Bitcoin bonds. The project had been postponed for quite a while. Why is this a big deal though, that it's actually happening now? The process of bonding is a recognition of future value. What do we expect to be around long enough that we can depend on it to be returned? If you're willing to take out a bond with Bitcoin, it's because you trust that Bitcoin will remain valuable in the long term. It's seen as good collateral. This is a big milestone for the crypto industry. It's El Salvador saying on a governmental level that the future is crypto. It won't be long until other developing economies take a leaf out of El Salvador's book and do the same. We need to recognize that these countries do not have the same stable financial networks that we have in Western nations. They are far more willing to take on the risk of using a new innovation as a government financial tool because they aren't served by the current banking system that we are. It won't be long until their neighbors and friends follow suit in this grassroots financial movement. Remember last year when El Salvador made Bitcoin legal tender, they caught the eyes of many more financial ministers in South American countries. Argentina, Mexico, Paraguay, and many more. They all had ministers discussing bills to start to recognize Bitcoin, whether it's as legal tender or a currency that is used alongside their own, or even just a framework to regulate crypto assets. Granted, the process is not going to happen overnight, but I do think the next phase of crypto adoption could very well be in developing nations recognizing it and having preference for it over their own banking systems. What do you think? Will we adopt Bitcoin here first in our kind of developed, comfortable Western nations, or is it more first for the developing nations that don't have their own infrastructure set up or don't have reliable infrastructure? Leave a comment down below. Digital Currency Group reveals $2 billion in liabilities, including debt to its own subsidiaries. Barry Silbert's Digital Currency Group has written to its shareholders revealing they have $2 billion in loans. That's $575 million to Genesis Capital, its own subsidiary, $1.1 billion connected to the collapse of Three Arrows Capital, $350 million credit to a group of lenders that are led by Eldridge Industries. Where are they going to come up with this kind of money during the market downturn? Who knows? They have been seeking an emergency $1 billion loan due to a liquidity crunch over the last few days, but have ultimately been unsuccessful. Barry has assured investors that Digital Currency Group and its subsidiaries remain stable and that they have weathered previous crypto winters and they will come out stronger out of this one. And look, I think that's fine so long as they can actually make it through. They have the experience to know what this is like. People are not blind to the fact that crypto goes through these kind of downturns and winters, or that such a large company has to some degree prepared for this. However, the future of the company is unclear, and it's important because, as we've discussed recently, Digital Currency Group and its subsidiaries are a capital farm in crypto. They are at the top of the pyramid, and if they go under, it's not going to be pretty. Who would loan them money at this point? This is the thing. Trad banking doesn't really want anything to do with crypto businesses right now. The risk is repulsive. Legendary investor Cathie Wood has helped cushion the blow of Silbert's Grayscale Investment Trust. She bought a few $1 million worth of shares and is voicing her belief that we'll see $1 million Bitcoin by 2030. There's not much more protecting us from the current uncertainty though. Blood is in the streets and we just have to wait it out. The current view I get from the last few weeks of uncertainty is that we are moving out of this phase of crypto businesses and into something new that could take time to build. Whether it's a higher standard of transparency that will need to come with running these businesses, or simply a focus on crypto adoption being shifted from the developing Western nations to countries that don't have access to already set up payment rails that are willing to stomach more uncertainty like El Salvador. One thing is for sure, the narrative of crypto being integrated into the current system and getting along with traditional banking is starting to really shatter. The volatility is just unpalatable, but it's not going away and it's only getting bigger. So one way or another, we will have to recognize crypto for what it is. If you like this content, hit the like button and subscribe for more daily crypto news. World Cup fan tokens rise and fall with action on the pitch. Fan tokens have been making significant gains in the past few days as the FIFA World Cup kicks off. The World Cup kicked off on November 20th, and tokens that boost interaction between clubs, teams, and their fans have been on a notable uptrend. Coins appear to correlate with wins and losses in the World Cup. For example, the Argentina fan coin dumped after Saudi Arabia stunned the world with a 2-1 victory earlier this week. ARG, the Argentinian fan coin, lost 30% of its value in 2 hours. Although Italy didn't qualify for the World Cup, the Italian national football team fan token ITA gained 56% from November 10th to the 19th, and then slumped 30% over the past few days. It's interesting to see where the sentiment is coming from. Italy didn't even qualify, and this fan token that is somewhat representative of interest in the Italian team is making dramatic price shifts. There could be some underlying tie in value for these coins, whether it's the hype of the World Cup playing its way through the market or some kind of team association, like one team winning means something for another team's fan coin. This is the interesting thing about crypto fan coins. There's a natural dynamic that is being honed in to discover a general market sentiment from one team or another. In the coming years, the accuracy of the sentiment should increase with experience, and these could end up being great data points for upcoming public sentiment. We'll probably do the same with other sports and politics too. That's all for today's news. I'll see you tomorrow.